invite Reza Assasi from McGill University, speaking on Haydn Tor, the House of Eternal Time, the Gate of Heaven. Haydn Tor.
Good morning. I'll go very fast, I promise, but it's going to take about 25 minutes. This building is located in southwest London and is approximately 2,000 years old. I took this picture, I think, 14 years ago. Its structure is a dome built on 4 pillars and 4 arches. This building is one of the Chartagis of Iran. Chartagi is a modern name which means 4 arch, the ruins of several of which survive in central and southwest Iran. This is another Chartagi, the most well-preserved Chartagi in the world. It's located in Yozgat in central Iran. In 2001, an Iranian scholar, Reza Assasi, discovered the astronomical alignments in this Chartagi and later claimed similar alignments for other Chartagi structures. His calculations demonstrate the alignment of the observation angles between the pillars towards the solstitial and equinoctial points in the local horizon, the points where sun rises and sets at the time of solstices and equinoxes. I witnessed the winter solstice sunrise in the Chartagi of Ninsar and was impressed by the accuracy of this alignment. These are some other examples of alignment Chartagi. Well, the recent discovery of astronomical alignments in Chartagi opened a new window onto the rediscovery of ancient Iranian archaeological and mythological realities. Cosmology is an important part of ancient Iranian mythology, but is almost forgotten in the study of ancient Iranian texts. The quadriform geometry of the structure representing a cross is commonly known as Mithraism pattern in Iranian architecture, yet the original name and function of Chartagi remain controversial. I'm showing different pieces of a huge puzzle, and then I'm going to wrap up. The results of my studies, speculations, and ventures took me far away from Chartagi to a contemporaneous structure by the Danube River in Austria, the archaeological city of Carnuntum, one of the Roman army camps, and an important Roman Mithraism heritage site. I discovered identical astronomical alignments in a structure called the Haydn Tor, or Pagan Gate, another 4-arch structure which has many other similar characteristics to Iranian Chartagi. Further studies on these similar structures in the Roman world suggest the existence of the same phenomenon in a broader region. Research shows the same result in the Arch of Janus in Rome, the Arch of Caparra in Spain, and the Arch of Malborghetto in Italy. The results may not be confined to these cases, and I suggest the Palmyra tetrapylon in Syria, the Arch of Septimus Severus, and the Arch of Marcus in Libya as other potential instances on the basis of analysis of satellite images. The astronomical alignment of this typology of building could represent a greater tradition widespread in the ancient world. However, more immediately, the connection between the Roman Mithraism site and the structures on the Iranian plateau revitalizes the theory of strong ties between Indo-Iranian Mithra and Greco-Roman antiquity and Roman Mithraism. Well, Mithraism is a modern term for what used to be called the mysteries of Mithras, or the mysteries of Persians in antiquity. Mithras is the Greek adaptation of the name of the Indo-Iranian god Mithra. Although Romans believed in an Iranian origin for this cult, finding its origins has been one of the controversies among 20th century scholars. What we know about Mithraism is based on a large number of artifacts from Roman antiquity, from all over the Roman Empire, and from the 1st century to the 4th century AD. In the 5th century, Mithraism in the West vanished by Christianity. In fact, Christianity was mainly constructed on the footprints of Mithraism. The most important artifact is a bullet-slaying scene, or tauroctony, of which many examples have been found, and which leaves no doubt that this figure conveys the core divine message of the cult. In the tauroctony, a man wearing a Phrygian cap kills a bull. In the scene, a scorpion is attached to the bull's genitals, here. In the elaborated form, a dog, a snake, a cock, a raven also are present. 2 other men with Phrygian cap bearing torches in opposite directions are standing on both sides. We have several of these examples. Usually it's encircled by a zodiac or clouds. Mithras was known among several ancient civilizations. In Iranian mythology, the god Mithra appears in the Yasht of Avesta, in the part that is considered to preserve pre-Zoroastrian myths. In these texts, Mithra appears to have a chariot driven by 4 heavily white horses. This is a Mithraistic tauroctony scene found at Zhigan in modern Bulgaria. A symbol of the broken cross, commonly known as the swastika, has been well preserved in the scene here. In another Mithraistic artifact from Italy, a swastika is depicted on a bronze statue along with a sign of a 6th-rayed star. The image on the lower right side is a bread stamp in the shape of a broken cross found around Dura Europos Mithraeum in Syria, probably used for one of the known Mithraic rituals in which the sacrificial bread and wine was offered to the followers. The swastika is a symbol used by several ancient cultures. It's been found in Bronze and Iron Age cultures around the Black Sea, Caspian Sea, and southwest Iran. The swastika as a sacred symbol is well known in the East, found commonly in the Indus Valley. It's also present in Greek and Etruscan architectural motifs, clothes, coins, and artifacts dating back to 8th century BC. But what makes the swastika important in the context of Mithraism is the wide use of this symbol in the East, particularly in ancient Iran and India, coinciding with the Mithraistic tauroctony of Zhigan. Interestingly, the swastika was known as the chariot of Mithra in Iran. In the Mehyash of Avesta, or the hymns to Mithra, Mithra is described as having a quadriga, or chariot, pulled by 4 heavenly white horses. His chariot is decorated with the stars. He hears with his 1,000 ears and watches with his 1,000 eyes, always standing on the high end of the sky restlessly in the north, arising above Alborz mountain. He always appears before the sunrise and after the sunset and watches everything between the earth and the sky. This leaves no doubt that the seat of Mithra and his quadriga is a celestial body in the sky close to the north equatorial pole. If we look out on a clear sky in the northern hemisphere to the constellation Draco, we can recognize the clockwise swastika. Its center is Zeta Draco and consists of 4 wings and 4 stars. I presented a paper in the SIAC conference in Slovenia last year, and recently in the Biennial History of Astronomy in Notre Dame in Adler Planetarium last month, in which I elaborated on the astrological representation of the symbol. I proposed the broken cross as the forgotten constellation representing the ecliptic pole. Zeta Draco is the closest star to the north ecliptic pole and the center of the zodiac in the starman. The axial precession of the Earth also takes place around ecliptic poles. Therefore, Zeta Draco is not only the star of the north ecliptic pole, but also represents the north precessional pole. The north equatorial pole and other celestial bodies rotate clockwise around this point. As an observational consequence of precession, the constellations of the zodiac remain on the ecliptic but shift backwards almost 1 sign every 2 millennia, which are known as astrological ages. Each astrological age is named after the pair of zodiac signs, rising or setting, on the equinoctial point in that age, representing the sign of the spring or fall equinox. The precession forces all the constellations to change their position except the swastika, which revolves slowly round in its clockwise direction around its center, Zeta Draco. In this great change, the family of signs of the zodiac stay on the ecliptic, while the family of the constellations representing the east rising stars or the equator changes its members in each age, and a constellation other than the two zodiac signs passes over the equator and rises in the east. I call this constellation the forerunner. Each of these constellations. Therefore, the forerunner constellation of each age joins the new zodiac pair in the east, metaphorically overthrowing the sign of the previous age. Corvus comes with Leo Aquarius, Creator with Cancer Capricornus, Hydra with Gemini Sagittarius, Canis Minor with Taurus Scorpio, and Orion with Aries Libra. I suggest that this phenomenon provides a framework for decoding the secret of the cosmic imagery of the Mithraic tauroctony. The symbol of an heir of wheat is often depicted on the bull in tauroctony, representing Spica, or the age of Pisces Virgo. The message of this image is the awareness of the coming of the new age, Pisces Virgo, two fish and a virgin. This age commenced around 1 AD when Pisces reached the equinoctial point, and Spica, the brightest star of Virgo, the symbol of wheat, known as house of bread, the literal translation of Bethlehem, precessionally arrived at the equator and rose in the east. The tauroctony proposes the start of this cosmic clock in the age of Leo Aquarius, represented by the constellation Corvus. In this binary system, the great cycle of the world adds up to 12 millennia. The concept of the great year, or 12,000 years, consisting of 6 ages, half evil and half peaceful, is a Zurvanite belief in ancient Iran. Zurvan is the concept of time, supreme god and primordial creator deity in Iranian mythology. The name Zurvan may be discerned from on tablets dating back to the 12th century BC. According to myth, Zurvan wished to have a son with the name Urmast, who would create heaven, earth, and all beings. After offering sacrifice for 1,000 years, Zurvan began to ponder and doubt if he should wait. While doing so, Urmast the good and Ahriman the evil were conceived. In finite time and space, which exists for 12,000 years, there is a battle between good and evil. There is also a treaty between Urmast and Ahriman to keep the balance and prevent Ahriman from ruling for more than half of the ages. The mediator who keeps the treaty is Mithra. Now we can draw a scheme to understand the cosmic image of Mithra. Mithra is the god of cosmic order, the divinity who keeps the treaties, the god of vast pastures who rises on the north sky, never sleeps, and watches everything with his 1,000 eyes. His chariot is the Swastika, driven by 4 white horses, running smoothly through the ages of time. If we look more carefully at the proposed celestial swastika, we can even draw the star map of the 4 horses of this constellation, pulling the swastika or a cross on its clockwise direction around the center. I took this picture in a campsite close to Toronto, and I draw these horses on the swastika based on the location of stars. And then I found a myth, which is a Magian myth preserved by Dio Chrysostom. The myth is originally Magian and believed to be Persian. This myth exactly tells us about the chariot, which is the cosmos drawn by 4 horses, which turn ceaselessly round in a fixed circle and guided by one charioteer, and proceeds on its course throughout unceasing periods of eternity. Men can only see the course of the sun and moon, but cannot grasp the movement of the whole. The first horse has a shiny coat and is sturdy and agile. The second is less vigorous and less rapid in its movement, and wears a somber robe, of which one side is illuminated by the rays of the sun. The third proceeds more slowly still, and the fourth turns slowly in the same spot, champing its steel bit. The quadriga turns slowly and unimpeded, completing its eternal course. I believe the swastika was also known to many cultures around the world. For example, a Bronze Age statue of a charioteer with the symbol of swastika was found in Serbia. The other image is a Roman brooch showing 4 horse heads forming a counterclockwise swastika while the horses move the swastika in clockwise direction. One type of Greek pyxis found at burials is in a cylindrical shape, having a statue of 4 horses on top with the symbol of a cross and a swastika. In several Roman plates and bowls, swastikas depicted projecting in the center. In some Roman artifacts, Mithras is also shown on the quadriga. We see the snake here, the cock, and here is the Mithras with the quadriga. In this image, Mithras holds the cosmic sphere and turns it, and holds the zodiac and turns the zodiac. Here, Mithras is depicted in the middle of the zodiac. Well, also the taurectomy is always depicted in the middle of zodiac. In fact, Mithraism is a symbolic planetarium imitating the cosmos from the beginning to the end. This is the Mithraism excavated from Dura Europos. We can see this perfectly in a taurectomy in the Museum of London. Mithras is depicted in the center of a zodiac. Interestingly, there are 2 quadrigas probably representing the sun and the moon running in the reverse order of the zodiac, from Gemini to Taurus, Taurus to Aries, and Aries to Pisces, these 2 quadrigas. Because sun and moon on the ecliptic, they also follow the precessional order. These are torchbearers. They also point to the age of Leo, and here down to Pisces. There is another interesting thing in this map. Taurus faces, the bull faces Taurus, and Scorpion is pointing to Scorpio. One of the questions is if the swastika or the 4-horse chariot is the Persian representation of ecliptic pole, why we rarely see this on taurectomy. In fact, Mithras has always depicted looking backwards like this, turning his head. He has a cape, bending his knee, and the bull is always like this. And this Taurus and Scorpio also here gives us a coordinate reference to locate Mithras in the center of zodiac. And Mithras, moving his arm, turns the swastika on clockwise rotation. I mapped taurectomy scenes, Mithras, and all taurectomy scenes on the star map of ecliptic pole, and see what I found. This is our swastika. And it perfectly matches the proportion of Mithras in any taurectomy scene. Well, this is the original Roman crucified God in the middle of zodiac with 12 disciples alone. And here is the Milky Way. Usually you see that encircled by a zodiac or clouds on top, which is the Milky Way. Well, this is the famous zodiac mosaic from Bet Alpha. A 4-horse chariot with 6-ray crown is depicted perfectly in the center. The quadriga is borrowed by the sun and the moon and planets sometimes, but this chariot is originally for Mithras, as we have only for Mithras in Persian myths, because the planets on the ecliptic always follow the same order of precession on the ecliptic. That's why they also run in quadriga. But here, it's in the center, always the cross or four-horse chariot in the center of the zodiac. The most important observation reference in the sky for tracking the axial precession in the firmament is the path of the sun representing the ecliptic, which is not affected by the precession. The best observation references to track the movement of the stars relative to the ecliptic are the equinoctial and solstitial points on the horizon. This is also the reason the axial precession is also called the precession of equinoxes. If we build a temple which is oriented towards solstitial and equinoctial points, and also we see a star rising every night from that point. After 70 years, we see that star, that the sun is still there on the equinox, but the star is shifted 1 degree. So even in the lifespan of a person, he can track it. I think they were not aware originally of precession, but after ancient civilization, after that, they become aware of this phenomenon. Interestingly, the Greek astronomer Hipparchus is also tracked the precession by observing a spica's displacement relative to the equinoctial plot. The 3rd century Porphyry tells us the equinoctial region they assigned to Mithras as an appropriate seat. Now we can get back to Chartavi, which symbolically represents the idea of the dome of heaven. In Chartavi, a dome is constructed on top of 4 pillars on a square footprint and a cross plan oriented towards the equinoctial and solstitial points of the local horizon. This temple is a Mithraic Zirvanite time capsule, the house of eternal time, which reckons the breadth of the world during the 6 ages of the universe. The geometric pattern of this structure is significant for Iranian architecture. The cross of eternity appears in Persepolis, where the tombs of Achaemenid kings were built in the middle of huge crosses carved in the rock of a cliff. Here in the back. And you see people here standing, so you can imagine the scale of this tomb. The symbol of cross of eternity has flourished in the conception of the Persian garden or paradise, the image of heaven, paradise on earth, in which a 4-arched structure is built at the intersection of 2 perpendicular axes of the garden. Well, we don't know the original name or attribution of the Heidentor or pagan gate in Austria, but we know the Arch of Janus in Rome was named after Janus or Janus, the god of time, the god of gates, the god of beginnings, passages, and ends. January, the 1st month following the winter solstice, is also named after him. Janus was the 2-faced god who stood in the passages and looked towards the east and west. The gate of Janus was reported to have doors which were open in time of war and closed in time of peace in order to trap the time of peace in the temple of eternal time. All these findings pose new questions, and I do not intend to propose a general solution for all of the data. What we can conclude in general is that the complicated order of the sky inspired people all around the world and contributed to a worldview which include a perception of space, time, and the universe that is not easy for modern people to understand. Thank you.